And we are live in Cooperville Live on a Tuesday. Big show coming up today. Already people jumping and watching the show. Thank you. Thank you, Facebook Live. Welcome to Cooperville page. Also on YouTube, search Cooperville. Subscribe to the channel. And we are on Twitch as well. Search No Limit Cooper, all one word, or twitch.tv/No Limit Cooper. That's also the show. Joe's in the house right away. Yes, sir. We're going to do it up today. We're going to do it up today. We got a big show. Budding country music artist Zach Grandel is on the program today. He's coming up in under 10 minutes. We'll talk to Zach. He's got his debut EP coming out, I believe, this month. I believe in March. So we're going to talk to Zach about all things life and music and all that he's got going down. Sven Erlandson, Badass Counseling. He popped into my Instagram feed and I was like, what? I need to talk to this guy. He is motivating, inspiring, speaking truth, and just saying how it fucking is. And I like that about people. We got Sven coming up later on this hour. It's a big day. By the way, if you want to know who's going to be on the show before they come on the show, C-Dubs in the house. Welcome. Of course, you know you can join our Patreon. Shooting the link right now into all the comment sections of all of our streaming platforms. Join the Patreon, get exclusive audio, get exclusive access, know what's going on before it's going on. We're working on merch. We got working on these, some more of these things. Only available to our patrons on Patreon. Jump on board. The link, again, is in the comments of all of our live streams right now. So, good stuff. Good stuff today. Drop this down. Bring up a couple of news headlines here before we get into the meat and potatoes of the day. The meat and potatoes. Our guests, Zach Grandel, coming up in under 10 minutes. So we'll talk to him. Texas is wide open. That was breaking news this afternoon. Texas is wide open. Will be wide open. It is like not right now. Like don't leave now and go to Texas and have some barbecue and a good time. March 10th is the date. Texas Governor Greg Abbott lifting COVID-19 mask mandate and allowing businesses to open at 100% in the state of Texas. Same state of Texas that was just shut down because of a winter storm a couple weeks ago. The governor says it's time to reopen businesses in Texas and remove the state's mask mandate. Now is the time to open Texas 100%, Abbott said in Lubbock, joined by Lubbock business leaders at a Mexican restaurant. He says, quote, everyone who wants to work should have the opportunity. Every business that wants to be open should be open. That is in the state of Texas. Opening up the doors, man. Opening up the doors in Texas. Texas rocks. Fearless in Texas. Yeah. They got all of the tigers and they got all of the guns. Didn't I read that? Was that a true thing? It was like there are more tigers in captivity in the state of Texas than there are tigers in the wild in the world. They're crazy. And I love it. And a lot of people moving to Texas. Rogan moved to Texas. Elon Musk moving to Texas. California's population is going, roo, Texas population going, roo, and it just is about to skyrocket too. Now that you got doors open as of March 10th in the state of Texas. He goes on to claim that Texans have mastered the daily habits to avoid getting COVID. But most importantly, now Texas and across the country, we have the vaccines. So they're going to slowly open back up. Well, actually, as of right now, businesses can operate at 75% capacity. Some exceptions. Effective March 10th, all businesses of any type can open at full capacity. Said that today. March 10th. Texas is going to be open back up. It's crazy, right? You know, and the thing I think he's making abundantly clear is like, if you want to open back up, you can. It's not saying you have to. If you're still living in fear, whatever, then you are free to remain at capacity or closed or whatever. I'm sure they'll have some other things in place, like whatever. Spraying some hand sanitizer and things like that. But state of Texas opening back up. Gotta give some love to my guy Sean. I just gotta throw this up there, right there. Yeah, that's for Sean Whalen. Line's not cheap, doing the damn thing. But it's crazy that Texas going wide open as of March 10th. So that was the breaking news today. And I wanted to get that to you just in case anybody's looking to get out of Wisconsin. But I don't know why you would, because it's like 40 degrees. It's basically summer. It's probably shorts weather. I saw people in shorts today. I saw two strange things. The shorts thing isn't really that strange if you're from Wisconsin, and we're going to have Zach on here in just a bit. I see he just popped into the green room. We'll talk to him about the great state of Wisconsin, how amazing it is. Like, we see people in shorts all the time in ridiculously cold weather. It's kind of a normal thing. Here's something I've never seen before. Driving to work today, and I saw an Amish guy out for a run. Like, just out for, like, had the hat on and everything, and maybe some less slacky pants, but he was just out for a jog down a county road. I'm like, that dude gets it. He's getting after it. Bright and early in the morning. Well, not for him. It's probably halfway through his day. He probably got up at like 3, did all of his things, and then he went for a run. Make me feel lazy. Like, shit, I need to get up earlier. That guy's already got the animals are fed, 20,000 chores done. He's like, I'm going to go for a run now. That's badass, man. That's badass. But really excited to have Zach Grandel on the show. This has been a great experience for me because like scanning through Instagram, like a lot of these awesome artists just like pop up and you can listen to them jam. And I'm like, damn, like, gotta check this guy out. And then I send him a message, and unbeknownst to me, it feels like it should have been announced to me, if that's a thing. He is from the great state of Wisconsin. Zakk Grandel is now on the program. Zach, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm excited to have you. I was, like I said, I sent you a message. I'm like, dude, I love your sound. I want to get on and talk about music. And then you're like, I'm from Wisconsin. I like, well, the connection is here from the
Yep. I'm from about as north in Wisconsin as you can get. So
that is, and Superior is a great, that Superior Duluth area is really cool, but it's weird because you don't really know when you're in one state or the other. You're like, did I just cross over? Am I now? Yeah. It's weird, but you guys got a lot of cool going over the bridge and stuff up there. It's just, it's a very cool, scenic, picturesque area of the state.
Oh yeah. It's a beautiful place. I mean, if you've never been up and around that area, it's a really beautiful place to visit. But I mean, for me, it's like anybody else. I've lived there all my life, so it's not as exciting to me as it is to other people. But yeah, I'm born and raised, and I've lived there all my life.
That's awesome, man. And being from that far up north, like when does music find its way into your life? It obviously it's everywhere, but in a lot of people, obviously, if you're the fans of music, they listen to it and they absorb it and they're like, this is really cool. I leave that to the talented people. Like, when do you decide, like, this is something I want to pursue? I want to go after being involved in the music industry, singing, playing guitar. When did that first start for you?
Well, I mean, music was always around growing up. I mean, my parent, nobody in my family really plays any instrument or anything like that, but there was always music being played. My grandparents, my mom, they listened to a lot of old country, everything from Hank Sr. and George Jones, Merle Haggard, Pat Sick, all the old stuff. And my mom listened to a lot of the 80s and 90s stuff. So that part of it was always around. I started playing guitar when I was in my early teens. I was about 13, 14. The singing thing, I didn't really start singing though until about 3 years ago now. I played guitar in different bands, and that was pretty much all I did. I was just a guitar player, and one thing led to another, and I ended up singing a couple songs in the band I was in, and then I ended up singing a few more and a few more, and just over time I was just the singer in the band I was in. So um I this is what I've wanted to do though since I was a real young kid. I've always
Mhm.
wanted to play music, and it's, these days I shouldn't say it's an easy thing to do, but it's a more obtainable thing to do than it was, say, 25 years ago.
Right.
Because nowadays you have social media, you have all these outlets that it makes it easier for independent people to put their material out there. Whereas 25 years ago it was the dream of, okay, I got to get signed by a label, and then it's
Mhm.
after that, then they just throw you out there, and whatever happens is kind of on them. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, but yeah, this is what I've always wanted to do, and so I'm happy in the where I am right now and being able to make the kind of music I'm able to make. So
I want to talk about influences a little bit. You mentioned some of the artists that you were surrounded by because of family. At a young age. A lot of that old country stuff, and even transitioning into the '80s and '90s country. Obviously, you look at guys like George Strait, and then that led into Garth Brooks, and then the
yeah,
explosion of '90s country. Who would you say is like, yeah, because you have there's a traditionalness to, I think, your sound and your voice. Like, who would
yeah.
you say is like was one of your influences, or several of your influences, when you like kind of said, I kind of want to take a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of this guy, maybe a little bit, guitar skills from this particular person. Who are those people in your life that you kind of try to emulate or kind of go after?
Um, I would say there's definitely a handful of guys. Keith Whitley is probably
Mm,
my favorite singer of all time.
yeah.
But uh, Keith Whitley, George Jones, Merle Haggard, George Strait.
Mm,
Um, those couple of guys there, Randy Travis. Those kind of that's group of guys is really a big influence on me. But I mean, when I was growing up and playing, and I played in a lot of different styles of music too. I
mm.
played in blues bands. I love blues music. I played in a punk band. I played in a metal band. I kind of it's I started out playing the old country stuff, and then I kind of went out and did some other stuff, and then it kind of just came full circle back to what I do now. And but yeah, I'd say that group of guys right there are probably big for me. Waylon Jennings,
Mm.
that kind of stuff.
Do you find that going in that circle and trying different styles of music, being a part of different styles of music, it kind of gave you the full plate? And you talk about it leading you back to where you kind of started with. You had a chance
Mhm.
to experience the rock and metal and blues. I can feel a lot of blues still intertwined in what you're doing, but you kind
Yeah.
of get a chance to you know be a part of and experience all different genres of music. And maybe you're like, okay, now this is my home, this is the right place to be. Do you feel like you got a chance to taste everything on the plate, and you found out that you really like the steak the best?
Yeah. I would say so. I mean, like I say, I love all different types of music, and going back to when I was growing up, there was a lot of different types of music being played too, because
Mm,
I have 8 siblings, and
mm,
so there was always all kinds of different stuff being played. But it was cool to go out and play different stuff and play in front of different types of crowds and stuff. But when it came to me really starting to do my own stuff, it just the old country stuff, that just what came natural.
yeah.
It's like in my bones, put it that way. So it just and that's when I started writing and doing that stuff. That's just what came out. So
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it's what I love. So it kind of was a natural progression back to that kind of stuff.
Mm. And talk about getting into writing. I know you'd mentioned that you mentioned when we were messaging each other back and forth that your debut EP is coming out very very soon. Talk about
Mhm.
going through that, the writing process. I know it's always one thing to I don't know if it's easier necessarily. It's a little easier to play somebody else's song. The music is written.
Yeah.
You can listen even if you put your own spin on a particular song. the
Mhm.
the basics are put together for you. But when you talk about writing your own music, writing your own songs, tell me about that experience and then getting ready to get this EP out to people.
Well, the EP thing, I had tried a couple times started the process to do some recording in the last few years, and every time I would try to do it, something would come up, and I never got a chance to get to do it. And then last year with COVID and everything happening, it kind of just totally trashed playing shows or doing anything for all the musicians, really.
Right.
So I figured, well, now is probably the best time of any to do this. So I had some songs I had written over time, and then I wrote some more, and I ended up having 22 songs to pick from.
Wow.
For the EP. And I was going to do a full length album at first, but cost effective wise, doing an EP first time around to kind of test the waters seemed more logical to me, I guess. But yeah, there's 22 songs written for it. I picked a couple for it. There is a cover on the album. My first single, "Lonely at the Top," was a song written by Keith Whitley not too long before he passed away. And it was just one of those songs that as soon as I heard it, I knew that I wanted to cut it. I love that song. And so I picked some songs that I really like, and the rest of the batch of songs, I actually am planning on releasing a full length album at the end of the year. So I've already actually started writing some more songs. So I'll have another big batch of songs to pick from for that. But writing for me is funny, because if I could go weeks, days, months and not write anything, and then just all of a sudden it just is, I'll sit down and I'll write 3 songs just out of nowhere for no reason. So I definitely have to be in the mood to do it, because if I try to force myself to do it, nothing comes out of it. So
yeah, there's so many different ways to approach songwriting, and just in the many different genres of artists that I've spoken to, there is some that will, be like, okay, here's my especially if you have a window, like in 6 months, we need to have 10 songs ready to go. And then you force yourself into a room somewhere with a couple of different writers, and you try to put music together. But to have the ability to let it come to you when it's time. And that could be a multitude of things. It could be things that you experience. Obviously, we've all gone through the weirdest year of our existence in 2020 and 2021. And you can just experience something different. And then you go, oh yeah, like this triggers something, or you start humming a melody and you're like, so I think it's a great approach. And every approach, if it's successful, is great. But to be able to say, okay, when I'm feeling it, when I'm in the zone, I know I can sit down and all of a sudden, in however many hours, I got 3 songs ready to go, and add that into the pile of what will potentially be on the EP, on the full length album, and songs to come in the future.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for guys and that work at like publishing companies and things like that their job is to go into a room every day and write. I have a lot of respect for people like that, because I sure as hell couldn't do it. I couldn't do that.
So I think the EP, and especially in this day and age, not to date in this day and age, back when I was a kid, getting music out, and we kind of talked about social media a little bit, that there's not that come out with the full length, come out of the gate with a full length record, have 10 songs. I think especially when you're trying to showcase your talents, your abilities, you can handpick those, whatever you do, 4, you do 6, you handpick those songs, and then you get your songs out there. And obviously with social media, and obviously I found you on Instagram, places like that where you can just have a little clip and people go, I like that sound, and they can go and experience more. You also have, then you talk about a full length album by the end of the year, and still writing during all this. You have something out there, you have sound out there, you have music that's out there and available, and then you can kind of hone in on getting that full length out. I think with the way music is accessible these days, via streaming platforms or on social media, I think it's a great way to really introduce yourself to the population.
I think I agree. I think with anything, there are good things and bad things about it. I think it is great that with social media and the streaming platforms and everything that we have nowadays, it is cool because it gives you the outlet to find a lot of music that you wouldn't ordinarily find, because it's not on the radio. And then, on the other hand, it's so over flooded that as an artist, it's hard to find that channel that you fit into because you're competing against thousands and thousands of other people. So it's with like anything. There's good parts and there's bad parts. I feel lucky to be able to just now create whenever I want to create. I'm not tied to a label or anything like that. It's, I could release a song a month if I wanted to. So there is a lot of cool aspects to it, but I don't know. We'll see what the year brings.
Right. Do you have is there plans to get out and do some dates? I know everything is kind of contingent on, if you can, and if you want to, you could book a show, and then who knows what happens in a week's time or 2 weeks time. But do you have plans to get back out and do some shows anytime in the near future?
Yeah, we're definitely itching to get back out and do some more playing. We right now we're doing a lot of small local gigs, playing around the Duluth Superior area, playing Twin Cities area. Last year when COVID happened, just like everybody else, we had a lot of shows canceled. We had 40 plus shows canceled. We had a tour canceled. We were supposed to open for a lot of people, and a lot of opportunities didn't work out, put it that way. And so this year, we're definitely trying to get out on the road. We have a small tour going across North Dakota, kind of across North Dakota and then kind of looping back up through Wisconsin. But like I say, as of right now, we're just kind of playing it by ear, because it's hard, because a lot of venues, they want bands, but at the same time they don't want bands, because as soon as they bring a band in, that's an excuse for more people than they're supposed to have to come. And it's just, there's so many gray areas for entertainment right now. So, but hopefully, by the time summer comes, things will kind of slowly get going back to normal. But yeah, as of right now, just a lot of local shows, a couple short tours here and there. Nothing super major as of yet, anyway.
Yeah, I know it's been a struggle for a lot of especially independent artists to who have to go and book their own shows and try to line up dates in a row, because you try to, usually when you book a tour, you try to have some sort of directionality. Like, we would like to go in this direction and then circle back and then come back here. People are running into issues where you have to go to one show here and then you have to backtrack, and your tour route looks like, more of a zigzag than it does like a natural, a natural curve. So the challenge is there for state to state, even county to county. In Wisconsin, I mean, you were on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Wisconsin was pretty open, and then Minnesota was shut down. I'm sure you saw a lot of influx of blue plates coming over the over the bridge to come and hang out in Wisconsin, because we could do stuff here. I know Hudson had that same thing. People coming up from the cities and being like, "Oh, well, Wisconsin's like the Wild West. We're going to go over here and have some fun." But you hope that as things start to open up, I opened the show talking about, Texas is now going 100% open as of March 10th. So there's one of the bigger states in the United States. You hope that's, and in Florida obviously is open, but you hope that starts to trickle up and you can put something together and get out, especially during the summer, because everybody who's been caged up for a year is like, give me, I don't care what night of the week it is, like, give me a show. I want to go and see some live music and and feel the bass drum and just let loose a little bit. So I think the fans will be out there, wherever you end up, finding venues to play. That's the tricky part, is finding the places to play.
Yeah, and it's funny, because like you say about going state to state and county to county, it's hard, because especially in the last month or two, if we play anywhere in Wisconsin, we play till whenever we're scheduled to play in. But in Minnesota, it's all going to be shut down by 10. And I think they just recently they bumped it to 11 now. They can stay open till 11. So yeah, it's been tricky, but it's just trying to stay busy and trying to keep getting out there in front of people. And last year in late October, we went and we played a few days in North Dakota in Fargo. We played a string of shows out there, and it was right before North Dakota got mandated for masks. Because up until that point, you didn't have to wear a mask in North Dakota.
Right.
So it was so weird because leaving Superior, the bars are pretty much open and people are wearing masks. But I mean, when you go to a bar, most of the time they're not.
Right.
Then going into Minnesota, everything is shut down and everybody's got masks on. And then you get to North Dakota and it's just like completely normal. Nobody's got any masks on. It's just so it's a very strange time,
Yeah.
But it seems to slowly be getting better. So hopefully it just kind of keeps going that direction.
Yeah.
We can hope for.
Excuse me. I had some friends that in a couple of different bands that played out in Sturgis in South Dakota, back in August, and they were just like, it was the strangest thing. Like you said, wherever they came from, whatever state they came from, usually was either lockdown or there was mask mandates, and they were out, in South Dakota at Sturgis in huge crowds, and they're like, it was weird because it felt normal.
Yeah.
Like, this is so strange. Like, everybody's just behaving like they did in, way back in 2019 or something crazy like that. But yeah, you hope that, excuse me, I gotta get a drink of water here. You hope that given time that things start to open back up, because a lot of venues have closed, a lot of venues are hurting. I got a little tickle in my throat there. But you, as you look forward to, it's going to be okay. I don't have the Rona.
You're going to make it through? Or?
I was going to say, people commenting, do you have the Rona? No, I don't have the Rona. I was outside working all day. But as you look forward to, getting through 2021, and hopefully as things progress and things open back up and you get a chance to get out, do you have long-term plans to get out and more touring, maybe make a move to, a bigger city? Like, what's like long-term after you get through the EP and the full length? Like, do you have a 5-year plan?
Well, I did up until COVID came. So that, COVID kind of threw a wrench in what my 5-year plan looks like, I guess. But, the goal is to be out on the road, touring as much as we can, playing as much as we can, and trying to get the music out there as much as I can, as much as, me and my band can. I mean, it's hard to say. I'm definitely gonna, I have another album coming out at the end of this year, and then they'll just keep putting out as much music as we can, keep playing as much as we can, and like I say, the 5-year plan was kind of shot to hell by COVID. So there's kind of no really guarantee of, in 3 months things could be shut down again. You never know. It's right now it's hard to say, but the goal is to get out on the road, touring and just doing what we do,
Yeah,
playing old traditional country.
I know that's missed, when you first start, pick up an instrument and you join a band, and, that's the outside of, practicing in a garage or somebody's basement. Like, that's the thrill, is getting out and playing in front of people. And, obviously that leads into the songwriting process, and that how that functions. But man, to have that major element, taken away for so long, and just to have that itch, and the fans have the itch to get back out and see shows. I mean, nobody's going to miss a show now. Everybody's going, this can be taken away. Like, we're going to go and see Zach when he's in town, because
it definitely gave everybody more of an appreciation of just everyday things that there wasn't much of an appreciation for before. Because everything did get taken away. Just
like that.
So I'm excited to get back out and play. And on the flip side, I mean, not playing quite so much as I was the beginning of last year, I've actually been able to go out and see my friends' bands play and stuff like that. And been able to spend. At first, it was nice spending time at home, but now it's just like I just want to get out of my house and
I want to leave.
I want to leave, So
No, I get it, man. Do you have a target date on the EP? I know when we talked, I think it was February. Looking at March sometime. Do you have a date that you're looking to get that
Yep.
out?
Yep. The EP will drop on the 13th of next
Awesome.
month. Or actually, this month now. It's March.
Mm.
March 13th. It'll be available all over Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. There will be hard copies of it available soon thereafter. There's been delays on getting hard copies of it thanks to COVID. So,
Yeah.
but it'll be available on CD. There'll be a short run of vinyl available too.
Cool.
Yeah, and as far as the full length one, I'm not sure. I'm hoping for around the end of September, right in that area. Could be sooner, could be a little later. Not 100% on that one, but that one will be a full length 12, 14 song album. So
very cool, man.
So there's lots of stuff coming still.
That's cool. And it sounds like, even given the restrictions, that there's still progress being made, in what you want to do, and that's play music and get music out. So I think, getting this EP out to people, early in the year, and then have some time to hopefully get out and throw some shows behind it, and then get that full length. It's good to keep after it, as it sounds like you have been during lockdowns, and you're ready to get out of the house and go play some shows. I know your fans are ready to get out and see you play a show, and get their hands on a copy of the EP. And I'm happy for you, man. That's very cool. Excited for what 2021 and beyond can bring you. Let people know where they can find you on social media.
You can find anywhere on social media, Zakk Grandahl Music. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or you can go to ZakkGrandalMusic.com. So, but I'm all over the social medias.
Because you can't go anywhere else and do anything else. You got to be.
Yeah, you might as well.
Might as well hang out on social media. Hey, Zach, I appreciate you taking some time out and chatting and telling your story, man. It's I'm happy for what the future has in store, and hopefully we'll get you down here for a show sometime. And I'll be following you, so I'll know when you're in the area, and I'll come and jam with you.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, man.
Awesome, man. Take care of yourself.
You too.
There you go. Zakk Grandal Music. Find him all over the social medias, and ZackGrandalMusic.com is the website. EP dropping on the 13th. That's like 11 days from today. 11 days. So get some new music from Zach. So very cool stuff. Thanks to him for joining. I apologize for my coughing fit there. I was in my wind-blown face. I was outside all day just working in the wind, and it was a beautiful day. Then you step out and you're like, oh, there's 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It's less than ideal. But we can't complain in Wisconsin. We can't complain because we got like 40s across the board for the next several weeks. We call this fake spring because winter will return and then we'll get real spring. So we have something to look forward to. Thank you all for tuning in wherever you're on Facebook Live. If you're on YouTube or you're on Twitch, I appreciate you. Make sure you jump in the comments. Let us know that you're a part of things and enjoying the show. Thanks to Zach Grandel as well for joining. Still have another guest coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Sven Erlandson of Badass Counseling and author of There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's just one of his books. He's got like 7. Dude is an inspiration. Please go and do yourself a favor, do your life a favor, and follow him on his Instagram. He's posting videos, like multiple videos every day, just inspiring stuff and dropping truth bombs. It's great. And that's at Badass Counseling on the Instagram. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back and we will throw down with Sven in just a bit. And we're back, Cooperville Live. Thank you all for tuning in on Facebook, on Twitter, not on Twitter. We're on YouTube and on Twitch. Thank you all for being a part of today's show. Thanks to Zach Grandal for joining us. Talking music, got the new EP coming out. That EP is going to drop on March 13th. So thanks to Zach for tuning in and being part of today's show. You can join in today's show on all of our streaming platforms, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Feel free to jump in the comments. Feel free to add your 2 cents in, ask questions, be interactive. It's just kind of what we do. We talk shit, and we learn stuff. That's what we do. Speaking of learning stuff, I see Sven is in the green room. We're going to bring him into the show. He is here. He is live. He made the decision to actually come on the show despite the fact that he is talking to a Packer fan. Oh, we got to get your mic working here, buddy. Thank you. Check 1 2. Mic 1 2. Let me see. Unmute you. I'm going to unmute you. Testing 1 2. 1 2 3. Right, I'm going to bring you down. Move you, and I'm going to see if I bring you back in. How about now? Nope. We had negative on the microphone. Probably they don't want us to talk to each other. There's probably some conspiracy. Like if these two cats get to rapping back and forth, things are going to happen. Let's see. Probably some sort of strange setting somewhere. Mm-hmm. Right now. It turned you up on my end. Let me try see if you can jump out and then jump back in. Close it out and then jump back in, see if that works. We'll give it a round 2. We'll just try again. Little technical difficulties. This is the part of doing a live show. You never know what's going to work. You never know what's not going to work. It's all good, though. But Sven Erlandson from Badass Counseling, at Badass Counseling on all of the social medias. So hopefully we get him back on and we can get his microphone up and running. I know he's shared the show on all of his social media platforms. So if you're watching and waiting for Sven, he'll be on in just a couple minutes. We're just going to check out where his mic setting is. We can make sure that's turned up. I think we got all of our buttons pressed the right way. So lots of stuff going on in the world. More alien talk. And we're going to talk about that after done chatting with Sven. So we'll get to that. They found, let's try now. Let's see if we can get him in now. How about now? Check 1, 2. It's strange. I feel like it's a government thing. I don't like it. I don't like when the government screws with my show. Let's see. Mute, unmute. Bring it in here. Bring it in there. Yeah, you're fired up on my board over here, so I'm not 100% sure. There is a microphones. Should be hot. I know you can do it on your phone too. If you have an iPhone, I think that it works. We can try it that way. We'll make it happen. We'll make it work. Click the link and we'll jump in. Then we'll really see if it's a government cover up trying to get on things. But yeah, lots of that. I was talking about the alien stuff yesterday on the show. It's like super weird that flight from Phoenix to New Mexico, and the long cylindrical object came firing back at the at the plane, and the pilot's like, "What's this? I don't understand what this is." And then all of a sudden, you had them reporting back to the tower. Well, it turns out that's not the first time it's happened. The FBI is reporting that there's been several incidents of things, these long cylindrical fiery objects with no jet propulsion flying over airplanes, and now they're coming out with a bunch of different research or different reports that it's happened like that. So we're going to see if we can't get Sven on this way. How about now?
I hear you.
There, see?
Hey.
It was the government at work. They were trying to keep us apart. They can't shut us down, Sven.
No, I guarantee it was my stupidity. I guarantee you that.
No, it's buttons, man. It's the magic of doing a live show. But first off, thank you. I stumbled across you on Instagram. One of your videos popped up, and I'm like, I need to talk to this motherfucker because he's going to light people on fire, and that's what we need in this world. Sven Erlinson, Badass Counseling. You live in New York, but you're from Minnesota. Is that how it works out?
Yeah, that's correct. I was actually born in Minnesota, though the nearest hospital was Fargo. So technically, for the first couple of days, I am in North Dakota. How many people can claim that? And, they say it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from Fargo. But I'm proud to be a North Dakota Minnesotan, and a lot of years in California, and some time in Ohio. And then for about the last 7 or 8 years in New York City, Connecticut area. And I love it.
And you have a wild, I mean, I'm just reading like some of the things that you've done in life. Like most people, you read their bio and it's like one thing, like I'm a dad, like that's it, and that's like the only thing. You've got like, you probably ran out of space on Instagram describing all the things that you've done. I know you were in the military. Was it Air Force?
I was at the Air Force Academy for a couple of years, and all prepped, ready to go be a pilot after high school. And grades were good, played intercollegiate football, and my military performance was good. But I just sort of felt like I love the military, don't get me wrong. And in fact, I tried to go back into the military 20 years later after 9/11, go back in as a chaplain. But basically, I was at the academy, and I felt a calling to go into ministry. My old man had been a pastor. 4 of my uncles had been pastors. One of them a missionary. My mom had taught at the largest Lutheran seminary in the world. And so it was just part of me, but none of my 5 older siblings went into it. And I think everybody thought I was the last motherfucker that would ever go into ministry for pretty much obvious reasons, like the ones you just saw in that last sentence.
Right.
Anyway, I got out, and then I had finished up my college degree and decided I wanted to go into ministry. And I got married by that time, had a kid by that time, and then went into ministry. Was studying out in Berkeley, California, and started doing some writing, went through a divorce, and then the books sort of took off. And then I went back, finished seminary. I studied at a Catholic seminary for about 2.5 years, even though I was a Lutheran. And then, my first book came out, and that was sort of groundbreaking. And that was one of the first things that got me kicked out of ministry. It was a pretty revolutionary book, and it was spiritual but not religious. And I was the first author to write on that phenomenon in America, long before that phrase and that idea of being spiritual but not religious had sort of become part of our common parlance. And it was a pretty aggressive book and pretty radical, and they didn't like it. But they also said, and this is an exact quote, I remember being in the meeting. I literally took out my fucking pen. I had to write this down. They said, Sven, we find you to be unruly, a bit obnoxious, and you have a temperament quite unsuited for ministry. And I had to write that down. And so they kicked me out, and I went back. They kicked me out again. And a couple of individual churches kicked me out as well that I had been serving. One kicked me out of the interview process, even though they knew they had flat out said they wanted me, because again, partly my theology, but by that time, even as a straight guy, I was standing up for gay rights, sort of long before it became popular to do that. And so there was just never a fucking fit. Then I went on to be a NCAA strength coach for a while, but all the while, my sort of counseling practice was growing. I had an extended family member who was a very, very big shot on Wall Street and in Washington, D.C. And I just sort of finished my first divorce back in the 90s. And he came to me and he said, Sven, I think I don't really like you. And you always wonder where a fucking sentence is going when they start it that way. I don't really like you, Sven. I said, yeah, I kind of knew that. He said, but you got a talent, and I have somebody that needs that talent. And he introduced me to a gentleman also high in the level of finance. And I was able to counsel that gentleman and sort of, in short, fix his life and fix his family, but especially his career and so forth. And it took a while, but then he had someone who needed help and recommended me. And so it just sort of snowballed. So now, 25 years later, having been, a pastor and doing the spiritual counseling, now I find myself in the world of, business and finance and working with, a lot of people sort of on the high end. But back in the 2000s, I had, all of my stuff is rooted in spirituality. It really is. And I don't mean God shit. I mean, and nothing wrong with God shit. And I can have that conversation with people, but the spirituality in terms of, getting people in communion with their own spirit, having a real fucking connection to who the fuck you really are. Because most of the unhappiness, most of the depression, most of the anxiety comes from the fact that people are disconnected from that. And they've got layers of shit piled on by often well-meaning people, but piled on fears, anxieties, but also beliefs they've been taught about themselves. So anyway, I gave it all up. I sold everything. I gave away everything. And for about 2.5 years, I went and ministered to the homeless, living on the street with the homeless, literally sleeping on fucking concrete every single night for 2.5 years. And that was sort of the pastoral side of me. I wanted to go where the need is the greatest. And now also, in an odd way, 10, 15 years later, I'm going where the need is the greatest. There's always a new need. The need is always the greatest, but there are people in every aspects of life who need their life changed. I mean, I work with people who have everything and they're fucking miserable, and all that shit that, the American dream and the things and the toys and money and the title that's supposed to fill that void inside doesn't. My job is to help them find themselves again and shit like that. So yeah, I've had a hell of a fucking path, and I've been very blessed. I've been very blessed.
There's something to be said about, first off, not being able to be employed by anybody else, apparently. Like, everybody else is like, fuck this guy. Like, we love you, but like, I think you do your own thing. But I think that the fact that you went down for 2.5 years, and because I don't think you see this a lot, you have a lot of people, I think, in a position perhaps like yours, who have always been like, I want to say they're just in a position, and then they can talk to people who are maybe lower than them, but never really have the experience of like, oh, this is like legit this shit, like this, like sleeping on the ground, living through this, and especially with a homeless population, that nobody else is doing that, right? Like, no, like there's, the church tries, but I think to actually go out and live in this shit, that is a testament to, I mean, your passion, your commitment to really helping others. But what an experience. I mean, how much perspective does one gain on life when you have to live without the things that are supposed to, and you made great reference to this, the shit that is supposed to make us, whole and happy, and ooh, look at all my pretty shit that I have. It's so nice here.
Amen.
Like how does that bring you to like a real centered perspective of life?
Well, it's very interesting. That's actually an excellent question, a great question. And first of all, I'll preface it by saying, where I was homeless, I was in Oakland, California, and Berkeley, California, and it's pretty sketchy areas. And but the faith community, the synagogues, the Buddhist temples, the Christian churches, they all work in coordination to provide meals literally every single day. And there are people working on the street. JC is one of them, big rotund guy, beard just longer than yours even. And
jealous.
And that's a nice looking beard. I'm jealous.
Okay.
And anyway, that fucker's out there every day. Very robust, big woman who was cooking paying for it herself out of the basement of a church, got thrown out of that one, started again. So there are really good people out there, and especially in the faith community, and I have profound respect for them. And I mean that very, very sincerely, that the church, when it does its shit right, it does its shit great. And the synagogue, I don't mean to just say the Christians or whatever, but the faith community. But to your point, yeah, I mean, when you get beat up once or twice, or somebody tries to beat you up, I had some guy come. He was drunk. Clearly, I could smell it on his breath. I was sleeping one night. I had my own slab of concrete, and he comes by and he tries to steal my phone, which I sort of keep hitting while I'm sleeping. But he reached over and tried to grab it, and I jump up, and I think I was bigger than he anticipated. And he's like, "Fuck you! Come on, let's fight! Fuck you!" And we're in the street, and he has this backpack, and he's swinging this backpack at me, and I can tell there's some kind of fucking weight in there. And he swings it, and it hits my arm, and it breaks open. It was a fucking 1.75 liter of vodka. It fell on the ground, splattered all over. And the best part was, he goes over and he starts picking up the glass, and he's mourning the loss of his fucking vodka.
Sadness.
So that notion of sleeping sort of always with one eye open, that you're never fully safe. A lot of the homeless folks where I was would sleep together. I wouldn't, because they'd be up all night and so on and so forth. But I tell you, you learn respect. You learn. I learned respect. One of the biggest lessons that I took away from being homeless was, you really get the notion of not my business. Two guys will be cocking off against each other, or somebody, and you don't touch anybody else's shit ever. And you know what? This is not my business. Whereas my training had always been step in, try to mollify it, pacify it, whatever. And it's just like, I'm staying the fuck out of this, because that sort of thing. But then also, the biggest thing I learned was the decency of humanity, and among the people who were trying so hard. And there's a lot of money in Oakland, Berkeley, and a lot of those people are members of faith communities, and they're really trying to do what's right by the poor. And I have mad respect for that, but also respect for and love for these men and women on the street. And I'll tell people this story now and then, that I was on the street. And one of their first questions is always, "Well, you must have done a lot of drugs." No, but the assumption is, and I love my end of the day cocktail as much as anyone, but that's not the point they're making. The point is that people on the street must all be on drugs, and it's just not the case. And a lot of people, some of them are there by choice per se, there's mental illness, and many of them are actually making a living on the street. Collecting cans is one big thing. That's how they pay for whatever it is they might want to buy. There was one homeless guy I would always see in the movie theaters. Occasionally I'd have enough money saved up, or whatever. And I used to love to go to see movies. And there was one homeless guy I'd always see there. And I knew he was a can collector, but he used to love to spend his money to go see movies. My point is there's decent people. I had two guys, and I just went there to live among them and to minister to them, but none of them knew. I mean, a few of them knew my past, but none of them really knew that I was there to minister. And I wasn't there to ram anything down their fucking throat. I was just there to be. Sort of the ministry of just being present. And if they want to talk, I'll listen. And if not, we'll just hang out. But sort of just the ministry of love, man. And the decency of so many of those people, and the kindness and the stories you hear also, the hard lives and the choices that people make. It was completely illuminating and definitely humbling to find decent people everywhere. And let me just tell you one tiny little snippet story. I just first started being on the street, and I was actually sleeping. It was in Berkeley, and there was a sidewalk. And in Berkeley at the time, you weren't allowed to sleep on the sidewalk. You could sleep in the doorway of a business. You could sleep on a yard of a business. You could sleep in the parks, but you couldn't sleep on the actual sidewalk because passersby had to be able to walk. And so there was a sidewalk, there was a street, there was a patch of grass, and there was a sidewalk. And I was on that little patch of grass sleeping, and I've been sleeping there many, many nights. And I'm 2 blocks from the university campus, University of California, Berkeley. And it was probably a Friday night, Saturday night, and I'm sleeping. And all of a sudden, as you would expect in a college town, I hear 3 people walking up the middle of the street. I can tell just oriented where the sound was. And they're laughing and they're making noise and blah, 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 as we all did when we were young, drunk fucking idiots, right?
Right.
And they're laughing, making noise. And it's 2 guys and a girl. And I can hear them sort of split by where their sound was. And the guy and the girl were walking down the fucking street, but the other guy had come up on the sidewalk. So my ears prick up a bit. I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? And he's loud, but they're obviously drunk and they're joking and they're having a good time. And these other 2 are talking as they go by on the street. And he's coming right alongside me now. And he's been loud and his voice stops, but he keeps walking and whispering. Mind you, he's drunk, probably in his early 20s. And he whispers, "God bless you, brother. God bless you." And then he keeps walking. To his knowledge, I was asleep. No one heard what he said. His friends were loud and talking. To his knowledge, I was asleep. So he was talking to himself. So I was privileged to a young man, 20-year-old kid who the last thing he fucking cares about is homelessness. And he says a little fucking prayer for me. He's talking to God, sort of fucking blessing me. And I'm not a religious guy anymore, whatever. But that's like the beauty of humanity, that even when a 20-year-old kid is drunk, he still gives a shit about a fucking homeless fucker. If that's not a beautiful fucking thing, I don't know what is. But anyway, yeah, change your perspective on life. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of shit that you don't hear about, because everybody gets kind of super classified. Homeless, super classified is one thing. It's like, and there's not, like, you're talking about all these different, people that are working, and they're working to go see movies. And yes, there is some alcohol and drug abuse, and there's some health issues. It's not this like stereotypical picture that people say homeless and you go, oh, that, or drunk college kid. Oh, that, it's a refreshing reminder that even amongst all of that, there is goodness in people, and none of it really gets talked about, especially if you dive too far into the social media world, unless you come across Sven, then you're like, fuck, man, I'm done. Speak to me, sir.
Yeah, but then you listen to him for like 4 fucking minutes and you think that guy's a fucking idiot.
No, man, dropping truth bombs on people, speaking the truth. But I think that is a great, nugget to take out of that experience, is that it's not everybody's bad. Everybody is a 20-year-old college asshole, or homeless. It's fentanyl and meth, and everybody's just fucked up, and they don't want to get a job. They want, it's, oh wait, we're all on this rock flying through space together, and there's still some good people that are walking amongst it, which is probably what keeps us from World War III, maybe.
Well, and to your point, Cooper, I believe, and what really undergirds my work in counseling people on the counseling side of it for me, is I believe in, and maybe I'm naive, but I really get this from my parents. My father died last year at 92, and he was a lifelong pastor, and my mother's still alive, and they devoted their lives to serving people. My dad grew up with a lot of money. He grew up on an enormously successful farm during the Depression and World War II and so forth. And he and his brothers walked away from it to become pastors and go into service. And my mother and some of her siblings as well. One of my uncles, like I said, missionary in Ecuador, profound respect for him and his family. I believe that every single person has that goodness inside of them. And I believe not only is it there, but every single person wants to express it. But it gets layered over with so much fucking pain from life and so much hurt. And like I tell my clients, when we're children, we are wet cement.
Mm.
Our soul, who we are, is wet cement. And as we all know from being kids, here's my water bottle. If I press that into that wet cement, that's going to harden to the shape of my water bottle. Or if I go, like when the men would leave after laying the cement, and the kids would come out and write in it with a stick, Tommy is a fink, or they'd walk in it or put their hands in it or, put their middle finger in it or whatever, that's going to harden. And children are wet cement. And so whatever messages they get, not just explicit, but implicit, and whatever is modeled for them presses into that cement. And oftentimes that becomes like a virus in the operating system of a computer. But underneath that, if there's a way to get that shit out, those beliefs and those fears and the crud they've been told about themselves, goodness always bubbles up. And I fall in love. I tell people all the time, I fall in love with every single one of my clients, male or female, old or young. I fall in love with the spirit of who they are. And my job is to stay laser focused on that. And I'm doing battle with all the other crud inside of them, all the other fucking demons, so to speak, inside of them, pulling those fuckers out. I'm at war every day because my job is to unleash that goodness, because I truly believe that it's not just, there are some people who are good and some who aren't. I believe it's inside of all of us. And even the crustiest old fuckers, or even, the orneriest 20-year-old college kids or whatever, they have good inside them and they want to do good. And so my job is sort of to fucking unleash that, if that makes any sense.
No, I get it. And I think there's, one of the things is I was reading through on your website, badasscounseling.com, that you have your clients do is write an autobiography about themselves. And, I'm putting this together. I mean, in order for you to be able to fight this fight and help them chisel away the fucking cement that's, that builds and builds and builds and layers and layers and layers, how therapeutic for somebody to, because you don't think about shit until like it pops back in your head, like, oh, well, I remember that from when I was 7, oh, my parents got divorced. No wonder I'm an asshole.
Yep.
But to be able to, what a great mechanism of starting. First off, making them invest in themselves, like tell your story, like go through, dig down, take the time to write out all the shit, the good stuff and the bad stuff. And then for you to be able to, then you have like, not a blueprint necessarily, but you're like, I
that's
see.
Exactly right.
I see that's where this all went awry.
That's exactly right, Cooper. That's exactly right. And I don't even know, to be very honest, where or when or why I started doing it. I just did, because, and this is going to sound like I'm trying to pull a fast one on you, but I charge an expensive rate. I haven't always, but I do. And because I'm good at what I do. And I find if I'm not getting something out of this as well, I get resentful. But what I'm really getting out of it is, I was a mathematics major in college, and, and then I discovered I'm not anymore because I suck at it. You reach a point where you suck, your cup's full, that's enough. But it's patterns. And I study patterns. That's what science is. We look at the patterns of the past so we can predict what might happen in the future. Well, for me, numbers got boring, but people and the patterns of people and studying them, but wanting to make it accessible for people to work with me. But most importantly, my wanting, when the moment they darken my door, I've already read their 3-page, their 13-page, or I've had them as long as 33 pages. Autobiography. I've marked it all up with notes, different colors, different highlights for different things. I'm looking for themes. I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for who they talk about, who they don't talk about. Or in that old case of Sherlock Holmes, the case of the dog that didn't bark in the night, a prize racehorse got stolen. They bring in Sherlock Holmes. Why the fuck, who stole the prize racehorse? And by the way, why didn't the dog bark? And Holmes discovers that the dog didn't bark because whoever stole the horse was somebody that the dog knew, and they determine it's the trainer. What I'm looking for a lot of times in autobiographies is the dog that's not barking, what's not being said. I have an autobiography I just read last week for a new client. Talks about his whole family, blah, blah, blah. Talks about everything, his life, his career, everything. No mention of his mother. There's the story. I mean, that's where I'm starting. And so it becomes a jumping off point. We work through it for the first few sessions, but I already know his whole fucking story. And now I just have more questions. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I put in 2-3 hours before, and I don't charge studying that autobiography. And then I already know his whole story. So we're saving 8-10 sessions at least. And, that's thousands of dollars. And then by the end of that first session, and my first sessions are always minimum of 3 hours, maximum of 6. And people say, are you fucking kidding me? I can't sit still for 3 hours. I could never do 3 hours. Oh my God. And they say, why do you do it? And I say, because the real gold starts to come out in the 4th hour, the 5th hour. Mm-hmm. That's when people are starting to relax. That's when they can't keep up their defenses and their lies, because I'm very aggressive in my questioning. I tell them, I'm not here to just sit and listen to you talk for 3-4 hours. I'd blow my fucking brains out. I will interrupt you. I'm here to follow my line of my curiosity and find what I'm looking for, find what feels right, find what doesn't feel right, and so on and so forth. And I tell you what, I literally just had a client tell me this last night. This woman said to me, Sven, you know what? I love the way you fucking work. Because one of the things I always hated in counseling was, it's into an hour, and no counseling sessions are ever a fucking hour anymore. They're 50 minutes or 45 minutes. You're just getting started, and they say, hey, fuck, time's up. Here, give me the check. And I'm like, fuck that shit. So I front and load it. I put as many fucking hours into the front because people want results now. They don't want results 2 years from now or 6 years from now. They want fucking results now. And so I'm like, let's load that shit up. And I have to stay in shape physically. I have to get a good night of sleep. I got to keep my caffeine very, very low. I have to pace myself like a marathon runner when I'm in these fucking sessions. And I've got to be totally clear and tuned into myself so that I'm feeling what feels off. What doesn't feel right? Okay, I'm going to attack over here. And I don't mean attack like hurt them, but I'm going to go this way. And one of my clients once said, Sven, you're like fucking, Tony Dorsett, the great, Cowboys running back. And growing up a Minnesota Vikings fan, I fucking hate the Cowboys almost as much as I hate the Packers. Sorry to all you Packer fans. Skull Vikings. But Tony Dorsett, or any great running back, hits that offensive line. There's a hole there. There's a defenseman there. He's hitting that fucking line, looking for the hole, trying to break through that fucking boom. There it is. Yeah. That's what I'm doing in my questioning. And it's not a conscious thing. It's just I'm looking for what doesn't make sense. I'm looking for the next breakthrough. And so, yeah, it's a fucking – the autobiography is not something a lot of therapists do. I don't know of any that do it. The extended sessions, I don't know of any that do it. But to me, it just fucking makes sense. And on top of it, I just fucking love it. I mean, these are the puzzles. I love helping people, not even helping them. Basically what I'm doing, I'm reaching down your motherfucking throat and I'm pulling out your fucking shit. And I'm pulling out some more fucking shit. Let me just jar your mouth open. And then I'm reaching down your fucking throat and I'm pulling out your greatness. That's my job. Whereas most counselors are trying to get people from low to normal. I couldn't give 2 fucks about normal. Normal sucks. I'm trying to get people from low or normal to aliveness, where their standard, their default is no longer just calm. And they can do calm, but their default is aliveness. Because I believe what we're all craving is that feeling of being truly alive, like not bogged down and not always wondering, and clarity and a sense of purpose and a sense of just being on fire about life. And that doesn't mean every single moment of the day I'm fucking jacked up, but it means I really feel great about my life. And I just feel alive, and I take people there, and I enjoy it, and it's so gratifying. I mean, you love what you do, I love what I do. It's we do what we can.
Well, I think when people think counseling, there's again, and we kind of talked about this. I think homeless person. I think this, and I see 20-year-old college person. I think when I think counseling, and as somebody who's been I went as a child, a wee lad. And then I went again was forced into it in an early relationship in life. And it was eerily similar. I mean, the context was different, but it was the same, very, I'm surprised I didn't just fall asleep. Nothing ever penetrated below the surface. And you know what I'm talking about? Hour 4 is when the magic happens. That's when the shit starts to let loose.
I think so. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely spot on, because you sit there and you're just like, well, let's talk about, how did you feel when? Do you use the word I or you when you're having a conversation with somebody? I'm like, I don't know. I'm 8.
Right.
Do you guys have Nintendo? Because this sucks. But I think the difference is, and again, this is for me observing your content online, and not obviously not as a client, but just as an observer. And I'm like this motherfucker's just reaching in, because I think the way when you speak, and especially in those videos, and I'm assuming some similarities there into when you're having a session with somebody, it's like right away, right away, you get to like this, and then here, like we're not going to fuck around. Like we're not wasting time. We're going to try to get out what you're trying to say. And I think that is, I think, what Sven, you're what the world needs, man. I don't know if we need to
like the world needs an enema, I guess.
Well, at this point,
Well, and it's funny you bring this up. I get a lot of people reaching out to me, and sometimes I can respond, and oftentimes I can't. But I had a gentleman reach out to me recently, and he lives in the Pacific Northwest, and formerly in one career, and then after he got out of a military career, and then he went into thought, well, now I'm sort of midway through life, I want to go into counseling and so forth. And he says, Sven, I've been in it for 6-8 years, and I want to blow my fucking brains out. I can't stand it, but I see what you do. And those videos I do online are like 1 minute long. So I'm like neurotic. You got to pack so much into one fucking minute to make
running out of time. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Make your point, boy. Shut the fuck up, Sven. But he said, God, if I could do it the way you do it. He says, because so much of counseling is, so many counselors and therapists, and there are good ones out there. So I'm not trying to disparage all of them, but there are so many out there that are trying to teach coping skills, coping with your problems, and then and are happy to collect the check for years and years and years. And for me, the last fucking thing I want on God's green earth is to teach someone how to cope with their pain or cope with problems. Yes, there are times where that's necessary, but what I'm trying to do is get down to the root, yank that fucking root out of the weeds that are growing inside you. My mother, who did this shit, both my parents were professional counselors, counseling people constantly. I can remember the long phone cord being stretched from our kitchen into the bedroom off of the kitchen. And mom would be in there after dinner. One of us kids, 6 kids, was doing the dishes, whosever night it was. And dad was across the street teaching classes or counseling. So I grew up in this. And my mom always said, naming the beast is half the problem. Sven, if you can go inside someone and pull out and name and actually get it out of them. And this is to your point earlier when you're talking about the autobiography and the therapeutic effect of it. There is that as well, not just what I'm able to then do with it for the client, but this notion of getting this stuff out. Oftentimes that alone, people are like, holy shit, Sven, I had 3 fucking epiphanies when I was writing the goddamn autobiography.
Right.
But this notion of the deeper you go and naming that beast, it's just like when people see it, you can see the fucking light bulb go on. You can see oftentimes the immediate transformative effect. And there was a quote once, and I if anybody knows where it came from, please tell me, because it's one of those I want to give proper attribution to. I think it might be Carl Jung, also a preacher's kid like me, but he said, transformation can be immediate if you go deep enough. And I see that if you're able to go down and find the roots and the whys and the whens and the hows and so forth, and it's fucking invigorating, man. It really is. And yeah, it is very different. And I'm not a psychologist, and I deliberately didn't go the route of psychology. I don't know anything about it, but I was a pastor. And what I do is spiritual counseling. Again, not necessarily the God stuff. I mean, if people want to, I'm fluent in that language, fluent in Hindu, fluent in Buddhism and Judaism, because that's my background. But I'm trying to help people find their own spirit, who they really are, their own fucking soul, because that's where I believe, and I don't, I'm an idiot, but I believe, that's where all real peace, inner peace comes from, and where all fucking excitement and joy comes from. And I was just having this conversation with someone recently, and this again goes to your point, Cooper, that you had made earlier, and that is that I believe when we're living authentically, we're neither just always the good boy or always the rebel. That it's this yin yang, this constant fusion of both. And there are times when Sven, the fucking asshole, comes out, and there's times when Sven, the really gentle, sweet fellow, that one's very rare, but when that one comes out, but it's never just one or the other. And someone who's always identifying as just one or just the other is someone who isn't fucking living an integrated life. Because there are times in life, Cooper, I'm sure, where you've got to stand up and be strong, punch a bully in the nose, metaphorically speaking, or whatever. But most of your life, you probably live as, a nice guy and walking through life as a kind person. And that's what it means to sort of be integrated, that I've brought up all sides of my personality. I have multiple tools in my tool belt, if that makes any sense.
No, totally. Do you find that there is, when you start to get below the surface, what is the innate fear because everybody's carrying shit around. Like if people say they're not, they're carrying that lie around too. They're like, no, I'm fine. Like I'm all good. I'm free. Like, okay, let's talk. Here's Sven's card. Call him. Like get in touch. But is there an innate fear that people have to go that deep? I mean, I feel like you can get to a level and people are like, you know, they're butthole Parkers and they're like, no more. Like I'm good. Like I feel like we've accomplished a lot today, Sven. I'm gonna go. Like what is that? Why is that fear existent?
There are three fears. And I'll tell you, not everyone goes the distance with me. You know, I get some people. I had one guy say to me, Sven, you know, I got to be honest, big shot guy, very successful gentleman. And I respect him for that and so forth, had a bit of a tough life. And he said, you know, Sven, I got to be honest with you. I've come to you now for 11 hours and you haven't changed my life. And I said, fair point. I said, but I'm going to volley that tennis ball right back to you by saying, I've been with you 11 hours and you're not opening up. He says, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, no, you want to keep it right up here on the surface. I ask you questions and you deflect with, no, I don't know, or that's not a big deal. That's those fuckers that always know it all. I just put up a post on this, like, I don't know, a few days ago that, you know, people will resist you. And so now to answer your question, there are three main fears. I tell people there are basically 3 steps to becoming who the fuck you are, to that spiritual process. One is having the solitude, the slowing down to hear your own voice. And for some people, that's the fear. They spend their whole lives running from that tidal wave of all their fears and all the shit from their past. And they run and run and run. And they stay so fucking busy, or they stay so focused on work, or they booze, or they pop the pills, or they do gamble, or whatever. And we've all done it. I had my shit that I went to, you know, in the past, but we keep running. Why? Because we're afraid that if I stop, that tidal wave will overwhelm me. So the first fear is the fear of being overwhelmed. So many people don't want to go into therapy or don't want to go deep. And many therapists don't even want to take clients deep because they feel like, oh, my client can't handle it. And the client feels like, I'll just feel overwhelmed and it will kill me. Whether literally or metaphorically, it would just be too much and I can't handle it. So part of my work, first step, is helping people understand that, A, you have to get it out. There will be no happiness without turning, stopping, let it overwhelm, and it will overwhelm you. And we'll sort our way through it and it will pass. But the pain does end. So the first thing is the fear of being overwhelmed by all the shit from their past. The second thing, if the first step in the spiritual process is having the solitude and stopping to hear your own voice rising up from within, the second thing is having the courage to heed their own voice. Because there are plenty of people who can actually hear it and they know what they're passionate about. They know what they want to say. They know what they want to do with their life, but they're fucking terrified. And you want to know what they're terrified of? I always tell people the greatest fear in life is not the fear of death. That's a whopper, and it's not the fear of failure. That's a whopper, but I sort people through with that one. It's not the fear of the unknown. No, the greatest fear of the greatest fear in life, the one that has the power to suck more life out of people than anything else, is the fear of the known. What keeps that voice inside when people want to express themselves and become who they really are is that I know exactly what my brother will say. I know exactly what my best friend or my boss or my mother or my sister will say. I know exactly what fucking society will say. And you know what? I ate so much shit as a kid. I got so fucking criticized as a kid or put down or told what I wanted was no good or not important or who I really was didn't fucking matter. And I packed that shit down deep inside. And there's no fucking way I'm bringing that back out because it hurts so goddamn much. So that second fear is the fear of the known, the fear of the criticism of others, the fear of the undermining questions, the doubts, are you sure? Shit like that. That's the second thing. And most of my people are in these two realms. And I always tell them that third step of the spiritual process, that's sort of a master level step. And they say, well, what is that? I said, well, we'll get to it. But for the sake of this, if the first fear is the fear of being overwhelmed by all the shit. And that's why they avoid it. And the second one is the fear of the known, the fear of actually expressing it, putting it out there, integrating my life, that what is on the inside is reflected on what's on the outside. And so many people, the real pain of life is that their voice is rising up inside. They know their soul knows they want something more, but they've had some other reality rammed down their fucking throat like a little bird in a fucking nest. But rather than a pretty little worm to eat, it's a fucking rock being shoved down there in crap. And so the grating inside the ulcer, the tightness of the chest, the tightness of the throat. It's where those two worlds are meeting. That's the grading. And it's like the tectonic shifts, the plates below the surface. What's causing earthquakes in your life is that the life that's being shoved down your throat is meeting your own soul's no. So anyway, that third step then is a master level step. And the third step is to let go of trying to control the results. So imagine I hear my own voice and I have the courage to express my own voice. But then the third one is, well, I've got this vision of what I think it should be. And we lock onto that vision and we hold it so tightly that I won't be satisfied until it looks just like this, just exactly the way I want. But very often, the universe, the gods, your own soul, call it whatever you want, is calling you in this direction only to pull you in a whole new exciting direction later. My mom always used to say, sometimes we have to go through this door to get to this door over here, which leads to a stairway going down, an entryway, an elevator going up, because you're meant to be in this room way the hell over here.
Right.
Okay, but we don't know that. We're just called in the direction and trust that our vision changes. And to that point, here's kind of a funny little fucking point on that. I tell people all the time, you know, one of the books I wrote was on cheating, specifically on female infidelity and how it's growing in leaps and bounds and what's really going on. You asked what my vice was in the past. It wasn't drugs. It wasn't too much booze. Yeah, I like to drink, but it wasn't that. It wasn't gambling. It wasn't Percocet. It was I cheated with the wives of a lot of men and a few wives of some women. And they share things with you, especially when your nature is to ask questions. And I wrote an entire book on what I learned from women who were cheating on their spouses. And one of the things I discovered, again, looking at patterns, one of the things I discovered is that the person the gods put in your life to get you out of a marriage is often not the person the gods are going to have you be with permanently. We fall in love with that person, and it's the love for that person that is more compelling than the shitty marriage I'm in. But I don't have the balls to get out of a marriage. But if there's something sort of drawing me, that magnet drawing me, I'll go to it. And we think I'm going to be with that person forever. But very often, that was just the interim person. And so it's little fucking micro patterns that over the years of doing this shit, it's just like you begin to see in human nature and shit like that. But no, the three big fears, and that was a brilliant question, Cooper. The three big fears are the fear of being overwhelmed, the fear of what people will say if I actually begin to be who I really am, and then the fear of I can't let go unless it looks exactly what I want. But most people, that's a master level step. It's these two things.
Right. How magnified is it nowadays? Nowadays, how magnified is because we're living in a fucking Twilight Zone episode of some weird, I don't know, it changes from county to county, from city to city, from state to state. I'm like, I don't know. It's just a free for all in Texas. Fuck it. Let's go there. But, you know, and everybody's kind of been, not everybody, but a lot of people have found this addiction to social media has been amplified. And the turbulence in society on many different levels. We don't need to get into them. Well, there's too many to get into.
Right.
There's so many things out there that that fear of, especially, you know, the second level, when you talk about the fear of what other people think of you. I mean, you can't say anything now. Like right. if you have a feeling and you're passionate about something, like, you can be canceled, chastised, excommunicated, all the bad things, you know, that nobody wants. Nobody wants to be kicked out of their family or their relationship or their job, so you just kind of, all these things come at you. You're like, well, this is going this way, and I feel like it should go this way, but you're just pushing all of your feelings back down. It's got to be It's got to be magnified during COVID, during the political scene, during everything that's going on. It's got to be amplified to I can't even imagine how many times.
And you hit the nail on the head there, Cooper. And you know, it's fascinating that COVID especially has had that effect. And again, we don't need to go into all the what's and wherefores, but that it amplifies people's problems. Now I'm stuck at home with my spouse, or now I'm stuck at home with my two little peckerhead kids, and I love them, but Jesus God, I want to blow myself in the fucking face, you know. So yeah, it makes life harder. But what's fascinating is two things. One, I've seen more good come out of in people's lives in the pandemic. I have one person I counsel. on Thursday evenings. And I've said to him a number of times, I said, this COVID has been such a blessing. He said, why the fuck do you say that? You know, I'm going through a fucking marriage, blah, blah, blah. And I said, because it forced you to slow down. You were going 100 miles an hour running from your fucking problems, and it forced you to slow down. And I'm not just talking about your problems of your marriage and you're in the middle of a divorce, you know, from your wife and all this, but it forced you to finally stop and look at the shit from your past. And like so many of my clients, he had some really fucked up shit. So there's that, you know, and your notion of the amplification that, yes, it forces, you know, two people who have been at odds, but they sort of have their parallel lives, you know, they're married. But now, fuck, I see you every fucking day. And she's looking at me like, Jesus Christ, you really are fucking ugly, Sven, or, you know, whatever. Karen, my girlfriend, doesn't say that to my face. I know she's
thinking it. Oh, did we lose Sven? I mean, we had a lock up here.
But anyway,
it's just in her mind. I said, it's just in her mind. She's not really.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And she's so sweet. By nearly 30 years of counseling people is that, and this is an absolute mantra. Every single one of my clients heard me say it 1,000 times, and they're sick of me here saying it, but change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. And so the amplification of the problem, painful as it is precisely what's needed to get people off a dime, to get them off their ass, to force the situation, to force their hand, to finally go in the direction that they want to. That it's like, you know, it's like we've all heard that phrase, you know, the still small voice or the whisper of the gods. And our soul is always sort of whispering. It sends up a little ping, like on a sonar, ping of what I should say or what I want to do next or who I really am. But if we don't listen, the soul or the gods, they start talking in their inside voice. Shit churns inside a little more. Shit starts going wrong around me a bit more. And life starts falling apart a bit. And if we still don't let go, we're holding on so tightly to a relationship or a career or a way we thought our life was supposed to be. And we're holding on because it's secure, it's secure, it's secure. Fuck, I can't let go. Fuck. Even though what I'm holding on to is like a schooner wooden ship, and it's on fire and it's sinking and it's been carrying manure, so it smells like fucking shit. But so everything's going awry with what I'm holding on to, but I can't imagine anything else. And I'm sort of waiting for a new ship on the horizon to arrive because I gotta have something to fucking swim to, but I can't let go. And the guys are like saying, dude, I'm trying to lead you to fucking higher ground with your life and more beautiful vistas, but you gotta have the courage to let go. And we can't. And so the gods, first it's the whisper, we don't listen, then it's the inside voice, and then the gods start shouting. That's when your health starts falling apart, your relationships are falling apart, and everything gets so bad that you basically have to let go. And there's that sort of free fall feeling, but then we learn to swim. And that it's once we're finally cracked open, it's once our ego and our fears are finally cracked open that we can begin to actually dream of, and not just dream of, but take those steps towards a new life. But no, man, we fucking hold on. And so that amplification, to use your word, that amplification is sometimes so necessary of the problems. People always say to me, well, Sven, I don't know if I should or I shouldn't divorce, or I don't know if I should take this job in San Diego or not take it, or should I this, should I that? And I always tell them, if you're asking yourself, should I, or I need to figure it out, you're forcing the situation. Let it go, because you know what's going to happen? Your pain is going to get so bad. This isn't going to, your marriage, it's shit right now. It's not going to magically fucking heal itself. You're not really taking any steps to fix it, which indicates you don't really want to take any steps to fix it. So it's just going to amplify, to use your word. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the day is going to happen. The day is going to happen when you wake up and it's just like, it's time. I know I need to do it. So that amplification really, in all situations, painful as it fucking is always the best thing for change. It's that pressure cooker that causes things to crack open. So you hit the nail on the head with that one, Cooper.
No, I love it. Sven, I could talk to you for hours, dude. I feel like we should start our own fucking show, like for real. I do want to talk about There's a Hole in My Love Cup. I know it's your latest book. This is number 7, right?
Something like that.
7. Yeah, I lost count. I don't fucking know.
That did sound kind of douchey. I didn't mean it douchey.
No, I got it.
I'm a fucking idiot and I forget shit.
You got 12 million things going on. You know, irons in the fire everywhere and doing great work. But I want to talk about the latest book. Give us a little synopsis of it and where people can find a copy.
Yeah, well, it actually, you can get it on Amazon. There's an ebook copy, which is always in stock. The paperback is recently just sold out, and they're printing more and so forth. I've been assured of that. And the basic, the book is simply all of my kind of counseling, everything that happens in my office in session, condensed into a book, except the autobiography part, because whatever. And so it's for people who can't access me, can't afford me, whatever. So I created the book basically with all the steps, all the exercises, all the stories. It's right there. A lot of young people came to me and said, I don't like to read so much. Do you have videos? And so I have a do-it-yourself badass courses on my website where they can pay the fee, and it's videos interactive with me that I've recorded, and it's all the stuff of the book. It's all the stuff of the counseling sessions in the book, and they can follow along because a lot of people just prefer the videos. But yeah, the basic thing is what the book does. And I've had enough people come back to me and say, holy shit, your fucking book changed my life. And that's nice to hear. But what's good about it is to know that it works. And see, this is the thing. All of my counseling, everything, I went through a dark time in my life. I'm going to show you something. I have the fucking slits up my arm from my own suicide from 20 whatever years ago. And so everything, and I never had a therapist who could fucking help me. They're nice people, don't get me wrong, but who could really help me. I had to figure it out for myself. So my entire method, from the autobiography to the longer sessions to these little stories that I'm telling, these metaphors and so forth, is shit that I have done on myself and literally thousands of clients over nearly 3 decades. So it works. I don't just do it. It's not a fucking book and, oh shit, what should I say to this person? No, it's literally, it works. Right. And so that's what it is. And the book and the online courses are intended to make it more accessible to more people, because the truth is I'm expensive right now. And that's because some people, if they're not paying the higher end dollar, they don't think they're getting shit. And I've been working with this market, the high end people, for quite some time. And the reason for that is it trickles down. If I can change the CEO of a company, if I can change a business owner, potentially, I've just changed the lives of all of his fucking employees, or her fucking employees, or all the people under their care or their interactions, that making the world a more civil place. I believe that people are longing for a sense of spirituality. I believe that people are longing for a sense of connection, longing for a sense of goodness again. And so my mother and father in their 90s, when my father passed away, my mom's still alive, they always said to me, Sven, bloom where you're planted. And my girlfriend, she helps this old Russian fella lives a mile away, and she's helping her dying cousin and so on and so forth. She runs a fucking company that at one point was an $80 million fucking company, and she's off helping it's like bloom where you're planted. And so people at that level don't respond to guys in fucking knit sweaters and with the elbow patch and like you were describing earlier. Yeah. How do you feel? They resonate with people who have the similar personality, the driven intensity, and who don't fuck around, who don't waste time, and who get fucking results. And so my books, my courses, and now all the shit out there online, these little 1-minute videos, I'm trying to get it out to more people, to help more fucking people, because I just can't be present to every single fucking person.
Sven, I fucking love you, dude.
I love you, brother. This has been great,
dude. I want to do this again. So let's make it happen more than once.
Absolutely.
We didn't talk about Packers Vikings shit. I mean, there was a little bit, but we left it alone.
Right.
Sven's first, which thank you for responding to my my message on Instagram. But he's like, I don't normally travel into the world of the heathens.
That's right.
Meaning as Packer fans, but you did, and I think
I come as a missionary. I come in peace, trying to convert the heathens, but it didn't work. You Packer fans love your team, so I respect that.
Well, we lost on JJ Watt, so
tough one.
Asshole took the money.
But you wouldn't have. I wouldn't.
No, of course, I would, dude. I would have taken the money. Come on now. As much as I love the great state of Wisconsin and the Midwest, it sucks here like 6 months out of the year. It's like, it's too cold. It snows. You can't do anything. I'll be in Arizona hanging out. It's all good.
Good man. Good man.
Badasscounseling.com is the website. There's a Hole in My Love cup available on Amazon. Sven, thank you, my friend. Let's stay in touch and let's get you back on the program here sometime soon, man.
Pleasure was totally mine, Cooper. Thanks so much.
Take care of yourself, and thank you for the inspiration. I'm going to go fucking clear some shit out of my system right now. I appreciate
Peace,
you,
brother.
Take care of yourself.
You too.
Sven Erlandson, badasscounseling.com is website. And again, there's a Hole in My Love cup, his latest book that is available on Amazon.com. Go get yourself your copy today. That was great, man. That was great. I feel better about life after talking to Sven. So hopefully we can get him back on sometime soon. A couple of comments on here. Joe says Sven is great till the Vikings thing. Now I know he's good though. It's all good. Laura, I'm guessing that means Sven. Sven is great. He knows the name of my beast. Da Beast. Very cool stuff. Sven Erlinson, badass counseling, badass conversation. We rocked that out for about an hour. That was fantastic. To all of you who are tuned in on Facebook and on YouTube and on Twitch, thank you so much for taking the time out and being a part of the show today and enjoying the conversations with up and coming country artist Zach Grandal and also Sven Erlinson. Dude, I'm just motivated now. You didn't have to say shit. I'm like, yeah, fucking do it. Get the demons out, man. Let's go. Love it. Thank you, Sven. Thank you, Zach, for being a part of the show. We got another big show coming up tomorrow. Hang on, I gotta pull this up. I believe we have Madam Mayhem going to join the show tomorrow. We have who else do we have? We have the guys from Emperors and Angels joining the show, and we have country artist Brian Callahan going to be on the show tomorrow. That is all coming up on Wednesday. 3 guests tomorrow, starting at 5 p.m. Central. Right here on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and on Twitch. I will drop in. Hang on 1 second. Boom, boom. If you'd like to have more exclusive content, all the things we have going on with the audio of the show, exclusive clips of the videos, know who's going to be on the show before we talk about it, all that stuff. Our Patreon is in the comment section. Just drop the link. Join our Patreon. There's 3 different tiers you can be a part of and get exclusive access to all the cool stuff that we have going on as the show continues its trajectory upward. So join Patreon today. The link again is on the Facebook comments. It's on the YouTube comments and on Twitch. To all of you who tuned into the show, thank you so much. I appreciate you every single day. Cooperville Live returns tomorrow at 5. Until then, please take care of yourselves. Take care of